Hey guys, it's MadManPlant. We are wrapping down the night because they're shutting this down at 10 o'clock because we're going to the comedy show. I'm going to bed because I have a flight tomorrow at 12. And I like to get to the airport at least 2 hours early because I do not like missing flights.
I
I've
hate
done
that.
that before
Same.
and it is not very fun.
At
We
all.
got JM Balbuena here with us. And
Thanks for having
um,
me.
I'm going to read you her panel card. So she was nice enough to drive how many hours?
3 hours
You're so
from
nice.
San Diego.
So nice.
Traffic. Because of traffic, it was crazy.
That's what I heard about here. Anywhere you go is a day trip.
Could be.
Yeah. So we're joined right now by someone whose story spans the continent and communities. JM is a Navy veteran. She's an entrepreneur, an author, and an advocate whose healing journey began after a traumatic brain injury on an aircraft carrier and left her with PTSD, depression, and insomnia. Cannabis gave back her quality of life, and now she's using her platform to educate and fight for our patient rights and tell the stories that change the world the way the world sees this plant. And that's one thing that I share with you is the healing power of this plant.
Right.
Whether you're just using it for PTSD, depression, eating better, sleeping better. Let's talk a little bit about one, thank you for your service,
Thank you.
and two, Navy veteran. That is really awesome. You were lots of the traumatic brain injury on an aircraft carrier. Talk
That's
about
right.
that.
Yeah, so I was deployed and I.
So you can go ahead and
Oh,
start it.
thank you. So I was deployed, my first deployment actually, and then there I
A little bit
had an.
louder.
So during my first deployment, I suffered an accident while working on the aircraft carrier. I worked on F-18 fighter jets, and I got blown by a jet exhaust from one of them, and hurt myself pretty bad. And from there, I had
Are you talking
I
about burns?
no, because I had all the PPE, the clothing,
Oh,
my
that's
helmet.
awesome.
Pretty
Yeah.
much the only thing that you could really see was my face. So I had gloves, leather gloves, steel toe boots.
Good for
So
you.
yeah, no,
It's like wearing a seatbelt.
that helped. It definitely helped out. The only thing is that the impact is really what hurt me the most. And then from the jet exhaust, I literally went from where I was standing to where I landed. It was 16 feet. And so I landed pretty much head first, hurt my back as well. And dealing with the chronic pains from that I suffered a concussion. So came out of the military, and another veteran, like I said during the panel, pretty much heard me speaking about my situation, the lack of sleep, and told me, "Hey, I use cannabis to deal with that." And I was like, "Well, whatever, I'm not into it like that. I don't know. I didn't know much about it except from doing it at parties in college, and I tried it. I slept for the first time in 3 years
Nice.
since the accident, like a full night without interruptions, and it changed my life. That night, I said, because none of the pills that I was given actually helped. In fact, they were even more detrimental because the side effects pretty much gave me other mental health issues. And so, um, cannabis saved my life from there. And that's, what's funny? I shipped up to boot camp on 420.
That's awesome.
And
And I'm sure
unbeknownst
you
to
didn't
me,
smoke before you left, did you?
I did not, because I wasn't a consumer then, really. And I thought, oh, haha, how funny, that I was going to ship on that day, but not necessarily on some, it's time to smoke or anything like that. Because
That's hilarious. I'd be mad, I'd be like, you know what? I forgot to do that. I even get mad when I forget to leave the house and I haven't smoked. I'm like, oh, fuck, you didn't smoke and you
don't
left
you
the
hate when
house.
that
I gotta
happens?
wait till you get there. Like, so, with that being said, PTSD, depression, and insomnia What would you say is the most traumatic thing you remember from your accident? Like for me, it wasn't so much the trauma that I dealt with as survivor's guilt and just a lot of things that kind of unhinged and came loose when the accident happened, and I, was faced with things I haven't dealt with in the past. Right? With you, where does a lot of your trauma and PTSD reside from? Is it just the military? Is it in and out of the military?
Well, I would say that it's a combination of things. So, usually, like you said, traumatic situation happens, and little things that perhaps you had been hiding out,
Yeah.
you can't do it anymore because you're pretty much holding on for dear life,
Yep.
and everything is just slipping through the fingers.
100%.
And before that, this is not something that I really talk about too much. My father committed suicide when I was
Mm.
16. And all the things that just pretty much popped up at that point. And it had been about, um, I want to say, 15 years that my dad had already passed away at that point. But uh, I had to deal with a lot of that because I did a lot of sweeping under the rug and like, okay, I was in high school and I pretty much that year, my junior year when my dad passed away, I have no recollection of that year. I was
Wow.
like in shock. The only thing that I have for proof that I lived in that year were my grades, which were actually the best grades I had in high school, which I think it was like the being pretty much completely in shock because it happened, it happened like surprisingly. It wasn't like something that we were expecting, or there was like not a note that said why. So at 16, just dealing with like what the f did this happen and not having those answers. And then so that came up. That was part of some of the trauma that I then ended up needing therapy. But one good thing that I even forgot to mention during the panel is that cannabis. I wouldn't say that cannabis cured my like mental health or whatever the case may be. But what it did is that it when I smoked that day with my friend and felt like at ease for the first time in years and said, "Oh my gosh, I'm feeling like myself. Like right now, this is, I was laughing and everything was funny in the time." And then I said to myself, "I need therapy."
Mm.
I came to that realization when I consumed cannabis. And so now at that point, I'm just thinking about that. Like, oh my, I shouldn't be feeling like this is not normal. What's normal is how I was feeling that night when I smoked. And so I said, I need therapy. And so I made that conscious decision to go do that. And I am so thankful for that. Because Lord only knows. I used to think about taking my life almost every day before that, in the sense that I'm thinking like I can't live like this for the rest of my life, where I'm not sleeping, I'm feeling tired, I'm irritable all the time, you name it.
With that, we talk a lot about suicide on this podcast, like a lot. I definitely invite you, and I would like to at another point sit you down and we can do a virtual session, or you can always fly out to Virginia and stay at my house because we have a full studio and meet my beautiful wife and son. Um,
Nice.
but I would love to, if it's okay with you, set up another time to talk to you about that because
For sure.
one of the biggest things is, as a suicide survivor myself and the ability to be in and out in a flash, literally in life, is so important. And I'm so glad that you're here. And I'm so glad
Thank you.
that,
You as well.
yeah, and I'm so glad that you didn't do what your father did because, it's a serious solution for usually a temporary problem.
Right.
And even recently, out of cannabis, I've been pretty hard, just by life, not by drama or anything bad, but just you're either flying high or you're dragging ass. You know
Right.
what I mean? So there's no in between. But I do think that your father's suicide, and this is just outside looking in. I think has actually really helped you. One thing about it is you had mentioned really great grades during that time, and usually it would be the opposite. You'd be
Right.
failing out, and it seems like you've really found a way to put a lot of what you were dealing with behind education, wellness, and ultimately what we were talking about on the panel today, which is that self-preservation.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't have to succumb to this. I don't have to live the same life.
Right.
I don't have to make the same decision. I am powerful. I can find a way out. This is temporary.
Right.
And as a person who has like you every day, not every day, but there have been times where you wake up and you're like, yeah, maybe if I just didn't wake up anymore, it'd be a lot easier and it just take me out and I'm done and too much coach, I don't want to play anymore, like, type deal.
For
But
sure.
it's the resilience in us to be able to carry on
Right.
and now you're a legacy for your father. You're not just a statistic where your dad did it and now you did it.
Right.
You can honor him and celebrate him by your life and your decisions, knowing that that is also a piece of your success, and that is the most beautiful
100%.
thing when you combine mental health with success and finding healthy ways to deal with your trauma, which
Right.
is awesome. So congratulations.
I appreciate that.
You know what I mean? It's very deep and powerful. You
Mhm.
have the ability to do other things that most people will fold on,
Mm.
and I really appreciate that. So we're out of time. I definitely want to get more conversations with you, and I appreciate you taking the time to be on the panel and drive down. I'm really serious about mental health. A lot of people use this in this space as a buzzword. This month is actually Mental Health Awareness Month for those that did not know. And it's the conversations and the safe space that we create, the validations that we build in other people to hear their story, to allow them to be justified within reason, and to really not see them as victims, but allow them to own up to their responsibilities and own up to the fact that they are responsible for themselves.
Right.
And whatever happened in the past is not today. And if it is today, tomorrow's decisions can ultimately change that. So,
I agree 100%.
guys, where can we find you? How can we support you?
Yeah, you could follow me at J_JM Balbuena on Instagram. My website, jmbalbuena.com. You can check out my work there. And I always like to mention, please visit at ryanslawfoundation.org. And that it's a nonprofit organization where we advocate for the access of cannabis in hospice care for terminally ill patients.
Well, me and Honey are about to start hospice work, going to hospitals and homes, dealing with people. And the organization says as long as they are okay with it, I can document it and tell it
Oh,
on
that's
my
awesome.
podcast. So that is awesome. So I definitely need to talk to you more.
For sure.
So this is awesome. Guys, this
Thank
is
you.
it. This is the last podcast. They're shutting this down. Everybody's going to the comedy club tonight. I'm going to the guest house to smoke, order food, and relax because tomorrow I get to fly home to my beautiful family, which I've missed so much. This has been a great American Flower Autoflower Cup. I am so thankful for the position, the opportunity, the panel, and everything. I really came, saw, and conquered, and I'm just so happy to be here. I want to thank my sponsors, Dry Flower, Current Culture, H2O, and Legendary Leafies, and we can't forget our smoke sponsor, Canna Scoops. Everybody is amazing. Have an amazing time, and we will see you guys real soon. Bye bye.